Hello friends, a big loving welcome to our very own channel, Ammu and You, where I, Ammu, love to narrate stories of all kinds, especially stories that have some nice takeaways, humor and wit as well. Today the story that I have got for you is a very interesting and funny story. The name is The Umbrella Man by Roald Dahl. This is a story of a confident trickster. Now, this has been narrated by a girl, a small girl, who has told this story from her perspective that makes it more interesting and humorous. How a child sees different situations. So here the narrator, the child, says that my mother took me to see a dentist one day. After filling up the hole that the dentist found, we went to a cafe. I had a lovely banana split, and my mother had a cup of coffee. By the time we were to leave, it was about 6 o'clock. And after coming out of the cafe, we realized that it had started to rain. We must get a taxi, my mother said. We were wearing just ordinary clothes, hats and coats, and we had no rainwear with us. We stood on the pavement in the rain looking for a taxi. Just then, a man came up to us. He was a small man and he was pretty old, probably 70 or more. He raised his hat politely and said to my mother, "Excuse me, I do hope you will excuse me." He had a fine white mustache and bushy white eyebrows and a wrinkly pink face. He was sheltering under an umbrella which he held high over his head. "Yes," my mother said, very cool and distant. "I wonder if I can ask a small favor of you," he said. "It is a very small favor." I saw my mother looking at him suspiciously. With strange men, my mother has had always a golden rule. The nicer the man seems to be, the more suspicious you must become. This is what she always believed. And this little old man was particularly nice. He was polite, he was well spoken, he was well dressed, he was a real gentleman. The reason I knew he was a gentleman was because of his shoes. You can always spot a gentleman by the shoes he wears, was another of my mother's favorite sayings. This man had beautiful shoes. Now, the little man stood in front of us, shifting his umbrella from one hand to the other. "Actually, I've never forgotten it before," he said. "You've never forgotten what?" my mother asked sternly. "My wallet," he said. "I must have left it in my other jacket. Isn't that the silliest thing to do?" "Yeah, but you never know the old age." What I would actually want is a bit of help from you. What can I do? It's raining so heavily and we are just getting drenched. So can you be quick, please? Exactly. I could give you my umbrella, and in turn, I just want £1 from you. £1 that would pay the taxi fare to take me back home. My old legs seem a bit tired. My mother looked at him distantly. She didn't reply anything. She kept looking at him, and I knew all that was going on in my mother's mind. I gave her a look that said, "Mama, you can't be so mean with this old man. He's just a tired old man." "Why? Won't you need your umbrella yourself?" said my mother. "No, if I take a cab, I wouldn't need one. And as you see, it's a lovely silk umbrella. It's worth £20. I just bought it a few days back. But right now, I just need £1 for the cab." My mother, holding her bag tight, kept looking at him. Then, trying to open her bag, she said, "Well, what if I just gave you £1 for your cab fare, and I would not need to take a £20 umbrella from you?" "No, no, no. I just can't do that. I won't do that ever. I can't ask money of you. And that is the reason I'm giving you my umbrella. Lovely, nice, yellow silk umbrella, which will benefit you in this rain. And in return, just £1 to pay for my cab." "Well then, if that is what you insist." My mother gave me a look that said, "Look, I offered," but he refused. Taking out £1 from her bag, she handed it over to him, and he held out his umbrella to my mother. We got the umbrella, and thanking my mother, "Thank you so much. Thank you for your help, lady," and the man just turned and walked away. My mother quickly opened the umbrella. "Come right under it, and let's be spared of this rain." Mother and me settled under our big new silk umbrella. "I never have had a silk umbrella before," my mother said. "And to think of getting it just for £1. Well, well, strange things do happen." "Mother, look," I pointed out. My mother looked. It was that old man. And he seemed to be in a big hurry. "Mother, he doesn't look very tired to me. Does he to you? He seems to be walking quite fast, and the speed does not indicate of any tiredness in his old legs too, as he was complaining." My mother didn't answer. "He doesn't look like he's trying to get a taxi either," I said. "He's up to something," my mother said, stony-faced. "But what?" "I don't know," my mother snapped, "but I'm going to find out. Come with me." She took my arm and we crossed the street together. Then we turned left. "Can you see him?" my mother asked. The little man was about 20 yards ahead of us. He was scuttling along like a rabbit, and we had to walk very fast to keep up with him. The rain was pelting down harder than ever before, and I could see it dripping from the brim of his hat onto his shoulders. But we were snug and dry under our lovely big silk yellow umbrella. He turned right, then he turned left, then right again. "I'm not giving up now," my mother said. "I definitely need to find out what is this man up to." "He's disappeared," I cried. "Where he's gone?" "He went in that door," my mother said. "I saw him too, into that house. Great heavens, it's a pub." It was a pub indeed. "You're not going in, are you there, mother?" "No," she said. "We'll watch from outside." There was a big plate glass window along the front of the pub, and although it was a bit steamy on the inside, we could see through it very well if we went close. We stood huddled together outside the pub window. I was clutching my mother's arm. "There he is," I said, "over there." The room we were looking into was full of people and cigarette smoke, and our little man was in the middle of it all. He was now without his hat and coat, and he was edging his way through the crowd towards the bar. He gave his order there and came back and took a seat. The barman, in a few seconds, came with a smallish tumbler filled to the brim with light brown liquid. The little man placed a pound note on the counter. "That's my pound," my mother hissed. "By golly, he's got a nerve." "What's in the glass, mother?" "Whiskey." And we saw the little man drink the whole thing down at one go in a gulp. The whiskey disappeared down his throat in one long pour. Now, the little man was standing by the bar with the empty glass in his hand. He was smiling now, and a sort of golden glow of pleasure was spreading over his round pink face. Slowly, he turned away from the bar and back through the crowds to where his hat and coat were hanging. He put on his hat, he put on his coat. Then, in a manner so superbly cool and casual that you hardly noticed anything at all, he lifted from the coat rack one of the many wet umbrellas hanging there, and off he went. "Did you see that?" my mother shrieked. "Did you see what he did? Shh! He's coming out." We lowered our umbrella to hide our faces. Out he came, but he never looked at our direction. He opened his new umbrella over his head and scurried off down the road the way we had come. "So that's his little game," my mother said. "Neat," I said. "Super." We followed him back to the main street where we had first met him. And we watched him as he proceeded with no trouble at all to exchange his new umbrella for another pound note. It was a woman in a pink dress now. And as soon as the transaction was completed, our little man trotted off down the street and was lost in the crowd. But this time he went in the opposite direction. You see how clever he is, my mother said. He never goes to the same pub twice. He could go on doing this all night, I said. Yes, my mother said. Of course, but I'll bet he prays like mad for rainy days. What a confident trickster, isn't it? Very interesting story. And if you've liked it, could I request you to like, share, and subscribe? Please press the bell icon too to get all the notifications of this channel. Thank you so much for all your comments, encouragement, love, and support. I hope to be blessed by the same in the future as well. Thank you so much for watching the video and listening to the story. I will soon come back again with another one to narrate to you. Till then, beware of the umbrella man. Bye-bye.